James, we need to talk, man.
About what, might I ask?
Yeah, I don't really know how to say this, James.
Well, perhaps you might try pretending you're not a lily-livered pansy ass and give me the damn skinny.
Okay, did you fuck Greg's wife?
What's that now?
Did you fuck Greg's wife, James? Tell me you didn't fuck his wife.
Oh, I see. Is Greg saying that? Greg's a scheming Jew, and you know it as well as I do. He doesn't have the swinging brass bennets to do what is right and necessary for our racial future on this planet.
James, Dale saw you, man. He saw you.
He what now?
Dale says he walked in on you and Karen in the act. In flagrante delicto.
Well, of course he did, Pete. Of course he did. Sounds like something a Fed might do, doesn't it? Can a man have sexual relations with another man's wife in private without someone sticking their Semitic nose into it?
Okay, you just really need to talk to him, James. You gotta smooth this over.
Like fun, I will. I'd sooner eat my hat than talk to that pinky crypto scum.
James, come on, man. Y'all been friends for 30 years. You know he's not a commie or a Jew. Just apologize.
No time for that. Unless you want the American Futurist to become a goddamn desert, you better leave me to my goddamn work.
Yeah, James, about that. Where are those essays? You promised us months ago.
Ask Ryan Arthur about that. He's a filthy system whore, stealing my goddamn hard work and refusing to post my
James,
thoughts.
yeah, we actually did ask Ryan. He says you haven't sent him anything in a long time, and we really couldn't find any evidence that our missing funds ended up with Ryan.
He stole them, goddammit.
Look, James, if you could just talk to him face to face, I mean, we could set up a meeting.
Like fun, I say, like fun. You're not gonna get me in the same room with that degenerate pervert. He's worse than those sneaky Zionist bastards, Cameron Denton and Caleb Cole. They almost got me into trouble. I'm not going back to prison, Pete. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
James, John and Caleb are in jail, man.
Like fun they are, Pete. Where's Wolfric? I'll only talk to Wolfric.
To Wolfric? You mean Zach? Zachary from West Virginia? James, you know we kicked him out for being a pedophile.
You did what? My God, Pete, if you're gonna kick every good man out of the NSO for something as silly as a little kitty diddling, it's gonna be pretty lonely around here. I mean, you know what I always said about underage girls.
Yeah, James, I do. You really don't need to...
Pure dynamite!
Oh my God, James.
I actually said that!
I know, James. I know.
On camera!
Yes, James, I know. But I mean, this was like real pedophilia, not grooming or whatever, which you know as well as I do is completely fine.
Of course it's fine.
Wolfric is like a real pedo. He's gone, James.
Well, where's he gone?
I don't know, James. I guess try him at the Denver airport if you want to know.
And what right have you, young man, to kick a good National Socialist out of my organization?
Oh, your organization is it now?
Siege built the American Futurist. I am the National Socialist Order. I sucked Rockwell's sweaty cock myself, Pete. Had to wash it down with a bowl of cornflakes and water, you uppity whelp. Charles Manson nipped me a fucking yard blob. You're not taking Iron March or Adam waffing away from me. I'm gonna get Zach. We'll kick you out. Sorry, the Charles Manson fucking yarn blob. You're killing me.
It's true. It's true. It's a shapeless mass of yarn that he sent to James Mason. Okay, so welcome back to The Empire Never Ended with Boris, Fritz, and Ray.
Yo.
Hey, we got a treat for our free listeners today. This is something you'd usually hear on our Patreon. Consider this kind of like a preview of the kind of weird shit that goes down on the other side of the fence there.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. We do sometimes, if it's an update of
great public interest, we also
Oh, is that what
to the
this
public.
is? This is
I don't know if it's of great public interest, but it's
yeah. Epochal shift here in
as close as these
American
shitheads will ever
history.
get to that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually talking about something that already happened a few times to the same
That's
group of people.
True.
And it's
Yes.
happening again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. This is an episode about what is going on with the American Futurist, the National Socialist Order, who are the inheritors of the Atomwaffen. Well, they were anyway, inheritors of
Yeah.
the Atomwaffen. Can we call it a tradition? A strain?
No, the actual group. I mean,
Yes.
the Atomwaffen
Well,
division.
Yes. This complicates that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of shifting loyalties and breakups, and relationships are tough, you know?
How did
What
you
can
forget
what
to
can you do?
mention James Mace?
I was just about to mention James Mason. Yeah, he's a big part of this, of what happened here. But there's all sorts of good stuff in this one. This episode is a godsend, a Satan
really?
send, even
Okay.
better. All right, so listeners, as you might have gathered from the cold open there, James Mason and the American Futurist have had a bit of a falling out around the National Socialist Order. And as it turns out, he's not as nice a guy as he seems. It seems
Who,
like
Jim?
he's James. Yeah, Jimbo, you know?
Jimmy. We're on familiar terms with him. We can use diminutives for him.
Yes, you're right. Jimmy Two Shoes seems to be shacking up with some other Nazi pedo after being caught in flagrante delicto, as we say in Texas, with an NSO member's wife, and making strange paranoid accusations about established figures in the NSO who have been with the group since they were called Atomwaffen Division.
James Mason, paranoid?
James Mason, just being a little, what do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for?
A
A
douchebag?
dick.
I don't know.
Yes.
But isn't like in addition to being like a pedophile, the other American Nazi tradition is having sex with the wife of a comrade, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And somehow Mason manages to be in both traditions. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
wouldn't expect that.
Well,
someone
he's been
would be.
around for a while. You know, he's
Yeah.
got to cross check every box
Yeah.
off on the list there.
He's the real deal. I mean, he came out of the American Nazi Party. He basically grew up there. Like this is
Yes,
what
yeah.
you get.
I mean, he wrote Siege.
Yeah. So if the American Futurist dickholes weren't such Nazi scumfucks, I would almost feel bad for them with these letters that they wrote. I mean, I've been in that situation more than once. You meet a comrade, you've got high hopes for them, turns out to be an absolute piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The main difference, though, in this case, is that the people that I've had to deal with didn't come with like a multi-decade resume and a series of books about how shitty they were before I started hanging out with them. That would have been super helpful. If
Yeah.
they showed up with like a book that calls for the mass executions of, mixed race families, then it probably wouldn't have been a problem in the first place, But I'm not a fucking piece of shit Nazi. So having, for instance, published taped interviews where someone talks about being a statutory rapist with pride is a no-no for me. But that's me,
Yeah.
I guess if you're a Nazi,
These circles are a little bit different.
a little bit different.
Let's say.
They have different standards.
Should I do like just a very quick recap who these people are?
Yeah. If for some reason you've never listened to the first arc, some of this might not be familiar to you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about them. So the Atomwaffen division is the most well known of all of this type of groups, and kind of some groups later appeared modeled after it. It's a so-called siege Spiel group, which means that they are a neo-Nazi, ultra violent, basically terrorist group inspired by the writings of James Mason and his book Siege in particular, who at the beginning was kind of an internet group, but then started organizing various camps, and they met each other in person. And also they were kind of well known for also mixing up, James Mason thought with Nazi Satanism of the Order of Nine Angles, and specifically the Temple of Blood of Joshua Sutter, the FBI snitch.
So it's the creme of the creme of the creme.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That is me, the creme of the Della creme.
Yes.
Also murdered some people, their members did. They also kind of were killing each other at some point as well. When there was rumors that the US will actually declare them a terrorist group, which never happened. They actually declared a Russian group to be terrorist instead of Atomwaffen. This was the Russian imperial movement.
Right.
But just before that, they declared they were disbanding because they were scared of being, declared terrorists. And in the meantime, they actually hooked up with James Mason, who became a kind of an advisor to the group. So they used him. He was actually the person who read their statement and said how there is no more Atomwaffen division. And then they basically changed their name to the National Socialist Order, and also claimed that they are not Satanists anymore. Although Joshua Sutter, the leader of the Temple of Blood and FBI snitch, remained a member of the National Socialist Order, which, how can you not be a Satanist if Joshua Sutter is your member? But then finally he was kicked out when it was officially, announced that he is an FBI snitch who is also testifying in court against, members of Atomwaffen and so on. So then they finally said, okay, these guys no longer are.
They said
member.
That's a bridge too far.
Yes. And now we are actually finally, free of Satanists. Was the idea.
Whoops.
And American Futurist was kind of their website, of that group, basically.
Yeah.
It's the nerdy end of it. It's where the book list is and all the highfalutin theory.
Yeah.
You see an Italian word now and then.
Sure.
Yeah. So on the American Futurist, you got a guy going by the name Texas Pete. And Texas Pete is the author of the text that the first part of this episode is going to be mostly built around.
If I'm not mistaken, Texas Pete is the author of most things on American Futurist.
Yeah,
most things that aren't
Arthur.
republished from elsewhere, right? I think he does most of their interviews and whatnot.
Yeah. He's the big brain over there.
There's another guy too, right? There's Turtle Tim or some shit.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Timmy Turtle, something like that, and also Ryan Arthur is there typing away as well.
Right.
So that's the American Futurist, and Texas Pete here and his buddies were surprised that James Mason is an asshole, despite having written a book about how huge of an asshole he is, and having published it. I mean, that's the Nazi brain thing we keep talking about, the one that doesn't allow any sense of reflexivity or awareness of the feeling of cognitive dissonance. So, Texas Pete in this letter, where he breaks up with James Mason, it's very touching, also partially doxes one of their comrades, codenamed here Wolfric, as being a baggage handler at the Denver airport named Zachary from West Virginia, with his full picture and all that. Good stuff. So figured it might be fun to read the highlights of this, which, to be honest, is most of it. It's pretty stellar. So let's just start with this Dear John letter, or Dear James, I guess, in this case. We've been trying to avoid releasing this statement for several months, due to wanting to avoid issues that come with a statement such as this. As of today, however, James Mason has forced our hand, and we are cutting ties with James Mason effective immediately. The issues started in April of 2022, around the time of that Telegram Q&A chat we did, which I'm very sad we missed. They had a whole Q&A thing. Did we know that?
Yeah, we did.
Questions.
Didn't we cover James Mason's?
An episode on it. Yeah.
We did an episode on it.
Fuck, we did. On their Q&A?
Yeah.
Damn
with James
it,
Mason.
you're right. Oh my God, you're right. God, I forgot all about that. Holy shit. That feels like 100 years ago.
Well, it does indeed.
At least it was 100 episodes ago. Something like that, anyway. Did we ask them any questions? Did we ask them who hurt them?
I think we didn't, no.
Oh, fuck. Well, next time, boys. So, all right. We found out from multiple individuals that James was accusing Ryan Arthur, formerly of AWD, that's Atomwaffen Division, and at the time the leader of the NSO, of multiple misdeeds, including purposefully not uploading James's content, stealing, lying, etc. James didn't have the courage to say this to Ryan's face, so we had to tell Ryan ourselves. All the allegations against Ryan were totally disproven, clearing his name. This was extremely out of character for James. This was extremely out of character for James fucking Mason. Yeah. So we chalked it up to early dementia, since paranoia and bizarre false allegations are common among demented people, and James has a family history of memory-affecting brain disorders. But, as much as I wish you could cure being a Nazi with, like, whatever, like, donepezil or whatever.
My family has a history of dementia,
I mean, you can't, medical science has yet to find a cure for being a racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it true that, like, sometimes people with dementia just say racial slurs?
Yeah.
That's true, but so do racists.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
He even lose his filter even more.
Yeah.
Like, I think James
How would
Mason
you know?
sometimes filters when he's in public, but,
I mean, it would be funny if, like, we discovered that, like, James Mason's grandfather wrote a book similar to Siege that Mason didn't know about. And,
yeah. Well, it would make it a lot simpler.
Yeah.
A few weeks after this, we faced another issue regarding James. He was having an affair with the wife of a National Socialist man, a man who had been his friend for 30 years. James and this man's wife were seen in a compromising position by a friend of James. So I believe that compromising position he was in is called the erotic accordion. Kudos to him for giving it a try at his age. It's not easy. Well done there.
How old is Jim now?
About 160, I think. He's old as fuck.
He's up there.
I think he was born in, like, 51 or something like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He looks and acts way older. These issues led to a meeting among the prominent people involved with the AF. Some wanted to cut all ties with James immediately, while others wanted to keep things as they were. We eventually decided to slowly end our focus on James's work, while not totally severing our relationship with him. Prominent people, boys. Prominent people were there.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to. I can imagine how that looks.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure it was a fucking debutante ball there. Like some guy in a fucking skull mask and tuxedo shirt standing at the landing and being like, Lord Ryan Arthur and his charming companion, his right hand, and passing around like dance cards and shit. String quartet.
And there were people that were for
vaporwave.
against, like I can just imagine like the person that they were like, well, James, he fucked up here. This is like his comrade and old friend for 30 years. And then, some other Nazi being like, let's be real. This is what our movement has been doing forever.
Yes. Well, at this meeting that might have happened, there is a difference of opinion. That's definitely
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. I just love the idea of them being prominent people. I think that this is adorable. So he says, we do regret not immediately cutting ties with him after this, but it was an unusual situation, one that we don't have much experience in. And okay, I get it. They're
because that's
young.
The incel wing there.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't been in this situation before. So, I mean, here's some friendly advice. If you want to build a movement around somebody and you want that person to be respectable, maybe, if they write something like this.
A favorite line when asked if we would condone the killing of women and children in the event of an all-out race war is one whereby I correct the language by adding, you mean females and offspring?
So if they write that, I think it's safe to assume they're a shitty bad person. Because who doesn't write shit like that is like okay people, like normal okay people. People that,
yes.
I know it's complicated, but
there
of course...
are even Nazis who wouldn't write that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
I think that's
how
taboo
horrible
for a lot
it
of
is,
European Nazis. Like American Nazis are total freaks.
But that's the thing, is like these AF
that, like,
assholes like Texas Pete, despite his name, they want to I think they want this kind of European vibe. Like a lot of their texts are European, they call themselves futurists, for God's sake,
Yeah.
But they also published exactly the book that what Boris just read is in. That's from Siege. That's out of the horse's big old mouth there. All right. He continues. Recent visitors to James's apartment have also contacted us and informed us that he says dishonorable things about AWD heroes Cameron Denton and Caleb Cole, personally blaming them for, quote, almost getting him into trouble. James's greatest fear is, of course, going back to prison, and he blames Atomwaffen Division and all those involved with, quote, almost causing him to go back, even though there was no real risk of that. Never mind the fact that the Atomwaffen Division is the only reason anyone has ever heard of James Mason. Apparently, James doesn't care that it was the hard work of Cameron Denton that many of his low-quality, non-siege writings were even ever published. I don't know how's James going to blame Atomwaffen Division for getting into fights with teenagers because they won't fuck him. I'm not sure that's on John there.
Yeah. I mean, James Mason exclusively went to prison for having either like physical fights with minors, or doing like sexual things to minors. These are the only two reasons he ever went to prison.
Yeah.
So, in other words, not for political reasons.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I love also that Texas Pete is calling John Cameron Denton a hero here, while simultaneously saying that Mason is John's fault. You know, like he's a hero because he rescued James Mason from obscurity and published his shittiest writings, which is the exact thing that's causing Texas Pete a headache right now. You know, and let's also not forget that Denton and Cole also brought in the Order of Nine Angles angle into Atomwaffen and basically handed the entire thing to a federal informant named Joshua Caleb Sutter and blah, 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 blah. So what heroics is he talking about? What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah.
What heroics? What does he mean?
I mean, Denton
in this
was
sense,
the Satanist of Atomwaffen.
Yes.
And this is like now at least the third time they're trying to purge themselves from Satanists, at the same time praising the leader of the Satanists.
Yes. Yeah.
And James Mason's probably kind of right in this part. I mean, like, you know, for talking shit on Denton and that whole crew, because they were obviously not heroes, but inept fucking idiots who, like, you know, ran their shitty Nazi organization into the ground into the hands of the feds.
Yeah, there are people who are into James Mason. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's right. Yes. His followers are idiots.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
They have to be.
They have to be, otherwise they wouldn't be his followers. I mean, it's a catch-22.
Imagine how much of a fuck up you have to be for James Mason to be right about that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
that is bad. That's dark.
Well, I think enough of a fuck up to idolize James Mason and hang out with him.
Yeah.
So it's a paradox.
It is. It's a paradox. Yes. All right. Here we go. Now, what forced our hand was the fact that James unknowingly told a friend of ours about the fact that he was working on a new project with a disgraced member of the now defunct National Socialist Order. We were intrigued and decided to look into it. It turns out his plans were simply to screw us over, lie about us being underhanded, make up stories about how we screwed him over, and more, albeit in a passive-aggressive and frankly cowardly way of not mentioning us by name, but instead that, quote, other publication, or, quote, Atomwaffen affiliated. So, let's just take a second to internalize the fact that Texas Pete here just said that the NSO is now defunct. The factual accuracy of that statement is not entirely clear, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Just put that aside for the moment. What is clear, however, is that Mason is trying to walk away with Atomwaffen in his pocket and throwing catty fucking shade at poor Pete and the American Futurist there. Imagine being Pete right now. Imagine that you built a militant cult around this piece of shit and you learned that he's out there spreading gossip about you like it's fucking middle school and telling people that you're like just some dick rider. Why? You know, why? You know, just because you built a whole career riding his dick? Is that why? Is that cause enough for this sort of treatment? These insults? Yes.
Yeah.
Unconscionable, I say. Okay, so give me a second here to cue up the old air horn gong, because we are at that inevitable part in the episode when we hear what's on an American Nazi's hard drive. So, I mean, seriously, guys, if you were to guess what percentage of American fascists covered on this cursed show of ours are pedos, what would you guess? Do you think it's half? Maybe a third?
It's more than half, I'd say.
You think it's more than half? I was wondering.
I would say 95%.
Not quite that high. I would say it's probably somewhere in the high 60s.
You think high 60s?
No, 67, 68%.
Okay. All right. Well, here's another
It's
one.
up there.
Here's
Might even
one.
go up to 70.
Damn. All right. So, get the numbers boys working on that.
This isn't. We're not talking about French philosophers here. That's 95.
the French are always there for us to round out like a shtick about American Nazis. It's a lovely synergy we have there.
So French Nazis has to be like 100% then.
Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe because they stand in opposition to like, you know, the left and postmodern philosophies that they abstain.
I don't know.
Or
I kind of doubt that.
Or be one of those moments where like, you know where Foucault was right is when he said a 12-year-old can really provoke you sexually.
There you go. Yeah. This person running James's new website is a former webmaster for the NSO, Wulfric. Prior to the Satanist takeover of the NSO, that's a little spoiler there. We'll swing back around there in a minute. Wulfric was removed for pedophilia. And we do not mean that he, quote, had a 16-year-old girlfriend, unquote, or anything as typical as that. As typical as that, boys. He admitted to other NSO members that he watched illegal child sexual-oriented videos and attempted to bring up other pedophilia-related topics with them. To our knowledge, though, he hasn't directly harmed any children. Believe us when we say that if he had, he wouldn't be doing web work and video for James Mason right now, and we'll leave it at that. But, you know, maybe don't leave it at that. I mean, like, if you're a Nazi, for all I know, this could read, like, if he had, he wouldn't be doing web work and videos for James right now. He'd be leading the American Futurist. But, I
mean, imagine typing this whole thing where you said that, like, having a 16-year-old girlfriend is normal in those circles.
Totally
and then just being like, yeah, but we're hard on pedo.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why they had Joshua Sutter as their member, who was, like, openly propagating pedophilia. Yeah.
More on that in a bit, but yes. To be honest, though, to be fair, there are way less pedos in the American Futurist library than your average Fash reading list, but they do have 88 Precepts by David fucking Lane, who openly stated he wanted to bang the little girls from Prussian Blue. And of course, you also have the Turner Diaries, which, let's remember, features this magical line.
Elsa had developed early. Her natural warmth and open, uninhibited nature combined with her outstanding physical charms to produce a girl who had been extraordinarily attractive sexually even at 15.
The big hero, William Luther Pierce.
Big hero. He goes out of his way in that thing to make sure that we know that he means sexually. You know, it doesn't say extraordinarily attractive. It says extraordinarily attractive sexually. So, okay, all right, fine. You guys want to say you're the only fascist movement on Earth without pedos now. Great. Good luck with that. But, you know, maybe take down the old Pearson Lane stuff. I know you won't. I know you can't. But, I mean, they're not even going to stop pretending to read Siege here, you know. That's the Aryan Honor Code again. In fact, there's a little section of this letter called What About Siege? And he says this. This, of course, brings up the issue of Siege. Will we continue selling it? We're not sure. But we still love Siege. We think it's an excellent book. It's really excellent, guys. Sadly, the author turned out to be an underhanded asshole. Who knew?
You don't say.
Though, of course, with his cognitive decline, we're not sure how much of it is truly his fault and how much of it is simply his brain ceasing to function properly. Again, there's your Nazi brain problem. I truly sympathize with this. It is almost impossible to tell what's dementia and what's ideology for fascists. We've been asking this throughout Arc 3. It's always up in the air. So, this brings us to an interesting dilemma. Ideologically, we agree with it. Otherwise, we wouldn't promote it. But the author is now actively screwing us over. Even if we wanted to keep selling Siege, it is possible that this would sour the book for everyone who wants a physical copy. So we have about 9 copies left. And after those sell, if they sell, they're going to sell, buddy, we're probably not going to do another order with our publisher. We will likely focus on other works.
So this would sour their opinion of James Mason, not his prior conviction for pedophilia and, like, assaulting minors.
No. That was typically a 15-year-old, right? That's within their range of okay. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, though, and guess that the minute they stop selling Siege and they drop Siege off of their store, I think they're also going to lose their idiot customers who pretty much just buy their books to take selfies with them. I'm not sure that, like, fucking Squire's Trial aka Lecture Me Daddy, is going to have the same impact here.
No.
Which they also sell, by the way, because they're Iron March affiliated
Well,
too.
the whole thing was that they were the group that combined, Siege with Order of Nine Angles. So they dropped Order of Nine Angles, now they're dropping Siege. So what's
the point now? Yeah. No, Squire's Trial is going to pick up the slack there. Episode 14, by the way, if anybody hasn't heard that one.
Real
early. That was our first Fashfic, that one.
Yeah.
So let's leave Texas Pete for a moment with his final thoughts here. To conclude this, we're sorry if this hurts and confuses our readers, especially with our work building this man up. We also apologize for not telling you about this earlier. That was our mistake. And it was also a mistake to make this man such a centerpiece of our projects. He didn't do any of the work himself. He took us for granted. And now he thinks he can move on without us and has claimed sole ownership over Iron March and Atomwaffen Division despite him having no involvement with Iron March and barely any involvement with Atomwaffen Division. We have our doubts about his prospects. Yeah, I don't know if you met Nazis, Pete, but I think his prospects are fine. They're probably...
I mean, also, this isn't... they're not really adhering to good Führerprinzip here. I mean, they made him the Führer, and then they're like, well, he claims responsibility for all these things he didn't do. Well, okay, I mean, you made him the fucking Führer of your...
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Now we shall return to our Iron March roots, and we must move away from James and the cult of personality that we regrettably built around him, and instead focus our own future and what we can do until we reach the long-awaited final victory. I mean, this is pretty sad, I mean, while...
This is demasonization.
Demasonization, yes. So while Pete's been, running around in skull masks with pedos and discovering himself, I mean, okay, just for example, the Texas GOP has been...
Pete's secret speech before, the assembled high authorities, respected members. I'm sorry.
Yes. I mean, also, I wonder how he feels about, the Texas GOP creating, a fascist hell world totally without him. He's been out-Nazi'd by establishment boomers in that state. Maybe he should just say, that's his final victory and call it a day, Just walk away. Okay. The public letter was published just last month in October, right before Halloween, in fact, the day before, I think. This was not the only Dear John letter that Texas Pete had to write this holiday season. Remember... all that gushing about AWD heroes Caleb Cole and John Cameron Denton, the satanic TOB predators who brought the O9A and the FBI into Atomwaffen. Well, keep those guys in mind. So here is the opening paragraph of an earlier breakup letter, a couple months before. No, I think a month before, from the American Futurist here. I think this was still Texas Pete. The American Futurist is cutting ties and is no longer supporting the National Socialist Order. According to recent developments, bad actors have taken over the organization and are now using it to promote the Order of Nine Angles Satanism and child rape. Just now this happened, apparently. Not from its very inception. Just now. Yes. Insert spit take here. What happened? From the previous letter, we learned that the NSO was defunct. Okay, so this is why he says they're defunct. The National Socialist Order is dead for all intents and purposes. Just another failed group, sadly, due to subversives ruining it. Let it be known, we will not tolerate this. We will have zero tolerance for degeneracy and subversives in our community. Anyone found, no matter who they are, will be disowned and exiled. These bad actors are not idealists. They don't care about our worldview. To them, our worldview is something to be abused and used to promote their own degenerate worldview. We won't stand for it. Subversives. There you go, subversives. So, weird though, because I remember your literal heroes, people you called heroes, Caleb Cole and John Cameron Denton, literally bringing all of this in and loving it.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
promoting
degeneracy is literally their ideology.
Yes.
That's what they were about.
Right.
Wait, you mean rape?
Yes.
The man who went by the name Rape?
Yeah, the noble Aryan non-degenerate who called himself Rape on purpose.
Yeah.
How is that degeneracy? Well, let's find out why the man named Rape is not a degenerate. So
Okay.
he writes this. Texas Pete writes this. A letter from Cameron Denton from jail really gets to us on this subject. The biggest regret he had was not stopping Josh Sutter and not putting his foot down on things Joshua Sutter promoted. Now Cameron still has a reputation in the movement as the, quote, weirdo Satanist, despite his Christian identity adjacent beliefs. It's guilt by association. Aha! I see. It's just guilt by
Christian
association.
identity, also famously very honorable.
Yes.
And,
yes. Yeah, it's a good thing that Rape's the Christian identity guy now and not some weirdo, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in aeonic demons and crystal power and shit anymore. He believes in perfectly normal things, like all the races are ancient aliens from another galaxy that crash landed on this planet and that Jewish people are shape-shifting lizard apes, Normal fucking
He's
things.
the guy who was literally saying to Nazis who thought that Satanism has no place in Nazi stuff. He was literally telling them they're stupid idiots.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
giving them lectures on why they don't know anything.
Yep.
Not to mention that Sutter himself comes from a Christian identity background,
Yes,
quite
exactly.
literally.
Yes.
And look how he turned out.
Yes. Great. I mean, he's a, he's an upstanding agent of the FBI. What's not to love? He's a doctor, honey. Maybe I'm being unfair though. I mean, Pete does say that Rape is Christian identity adjacent. So I guess
So not even Christian identity.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
Temple of Blood is Christian identity adjacent.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're also both FBI adjacent. I don't know. Whatever. So, of course, what's needed here is another fucking front. And we can't keep playing the same Monty Python Life of Brian clip in every episode that there's a new front formed. So just consider it read. Imagine it in your brain. So, allow me to introduce, boys, the National Socialist Resistance Front of Judea. Ryan Arthur explains. This is Ryan now. All of our founding members were involved with the National Socialist Order, which has, in recent weeks, been transformed into an entirely different type of group. Unbeknownst to most of us, there was a secretive Order of Nine Angles Satanist strand inside of our group. They saw an opportunity to seize the NSO, and they have done so, turning it into a group dedicated to Satanism. We have rejected the direction that the new leaders intend to take the NSO, so we've decided to form our own organization to build upon the legacy left by the Atomwaffen Division and the original National Socialist Order. But I thought Satanism was the legacy of the Atomwaffen Division and
It's
the
like an
original
integral
National
part
Socialist
of
Order.
Atomwaffen.
Yes. What are they talking about? Or maybe they mean that they intend to murder each other over arguments about Islam or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're talking about the noble Aryan combat tactic of swatting people over the phone, Like, what legacy here? All right, this is all we get, though, in answer to this. We, of course, don't intend to simply follow in the footsteps of our great predecessors. We will respect the great deeds of the old groups while also learning from their mistakes. But just tell me, swatting, yes or no? That's what I want to know. Which great deeds are you talking about? Is it me? I don't remember any. Like, even from their perspective, I don't remember any. I don't know what they're talking about. I guess they almost maybe committed a massacre, but got caught outside of a Burger King. Was that the great deed?
I mean, most of the worst things that Atomwaffen did, they did to other Nazis.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no successful legacy.
I can't.
I don't understand what they're trying to build.
Can't imagine what they're thinking of here. Yeah.
I think they are proud of that member who was harassing gay men and also killed his high school friend who was gay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think they are
And Jewish, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Blaze.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
But their body count among themselves is higher.
Way higher. Yeah.
That kind of spoils the fun, no? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe that's what they want. But okay, this is what they say. In this new endeavor, we swear that we shall never falter, never compromise, and never do anything that goes against our deeply held beliefs. We will never do anything that is trendy, and we will never denounce our heroes, old or new. Which, did you hear that? We will never denounce our heroes, old or new. This was written a month before they literally denounced their old hero, James Mason.
Yeah.
Perfect. So anyway, Ryan rattles off a list of programmatic points for the newly formed NSRF, National Socialist, whatever, Revolution Front, whatever. Nothing new. Very boilerplate Nazi, which is, I guess, really their ultimate goal to be a typical Nazi, but American, but kind of like Euro-American. I mean, they also kind of embody like the idea of like the nostalgic pastiche, you know, this whole list that they put out. Their program is just a pointless assemblage of nostalgic signs that sells itself as something new, but they insist on calling themselves futurist, which in that very act admits that they're obsessed with the past. And I mean that some of it is completely out of fashion here. Like, it's really, really anti-gay. Really anti-gay. And I mean, is that even an issue anymore? Does literally anyone who's like under the age of 65 or isn't like a homeschooled Jesus freak care about that anymore?
You know what's interesting though about the name there that they chose? It really reminds me of National Socialist Liberation Front, right?
Yeah.
The split off from the American Nazi Party. Right?
Yes.
That's Tomasi and
Yes.
the
Well,
60s.
this was
And they
formed
did
before they
publish a book of Tomasi writings. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
You can also hear it in like the "we don't want to be trendy." That's kind of out of siege too. So I'm thinking that because this was written like a month before they broke up with James, that they were assuming at this time that they were still carrying forth the James Mason tradition in doing all
Right,
this.
because James Mason was instrumental part of the National Socialist Liberation Front, right? Which was trendy. The whole point was that they wanted to mimic like leftist urban guerrilla
Right.
aesthetics and
And be, like,
politics.
Yes, exactly.
long
The
haired
whole
and-
point
yeah,
was
yeah.
to be trendy, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To use Maui's trendy kind of slogans, popular
Yeah.
among, the militant part of the new left or something like this.
I mean,
Yeah.
that can't be accidental, right? I mean, I don't know.
No. I think this is also what makes us all very, very, very sad is they were all geared up to base another group around James Mason. And then they had to break up with him less than a month later.
Yeah.
Hilarious. So there's a couple points, I guess, maybe that are worth reading. Probably not, but they're a little funny, maybe. Point number 19. There is no greater nobility than dying for the survival of the Aryan race. I always like that one when it comes up. You know, dying for survival is one of my favorite underappreciated Nazi tactics. I mean, go for it. Whatever, man. Do it.
Please
Another
do.
fun one.
But which one did that? Like, okay, like, especially among the neo-Nazis, like, who of them died for the survival of the white race? Even
I think
by
all
their
of them
own...
did, no?
Oh, they did?
Eventually. Right?
Oh, okay. Eventually.
Tomasi, maybe?
Well, I think
I
it
mean,
just
he was
means-
killed by another Nazi.
Another Nazi, but I mean, that's how they do, right? I mean,
Look,
Oh.
William Luther Pierce chose to die a slow and painful death rather than be touched by a Jewish doctor. If that's not dying for the race.
yeah.
Mm.
That's martyrdom. Yep.
Okay, that's martyrdom right there. Another fun point here, and this is an important one actually, and then we're gonna switch gears. All members must follow Indo-European, Aryan religions or Christian identity. No non-Aryan religions are allowed, including Satanism. So no religions that come from the Magian Levantine world, except of course for Christian identitarians who think that they're the true sons of Israel. But
Let me tell you something. Do you know that in that great cloud that hovered over Israel in that time, that for 40 solid years, the presence of the Most High and the fleets of the Most High were moving between outer space and earth and hovering and moving over to protect the children of Israel?
that'll do, Ryan. That'll do. So that's our part one today. I didn't tell you, but this part was secretly titled NSOMG.
Okay.
So now we're going to go to part two, which is called NSO You Didn't. But maybe before we do, any thoughts here on the breakup?
I mean, it is pretty ridiculous. Like, I don't know, like, do they see that this is very ridiculous? This is like, how many times will they
No.
tell us that they found out they have pedos and Satanists and they're totally shocked? And this is a group that has like maybe 7 members. And they're constantly discovering secret pedophiles and Satanists there.
Yeah.
Who everyone knows about. You know?
Yes.
Like, so...
Oh my god. Pure dynamite. So yeah, all right. So let's go now to the other side of the coin. All right.
Okay.
Whither the NSO? NSO, you ask? Do you mean perhaps NSO9A? Because that's what they're
Ooh.
fucking calling themselves. the National Socialist Order of Nine Angles.
So
This
that's
is
the
the
other
best.
Very
section
creative.
of this play,
Oh,
right?
yes, this is the other faction, and it's so great. It's so great. This is really, really funny. So, okay. I mean, unless they murder somebody, and then it won't be as funny, but it'll still be pretty funny, to be honest. It'll just be fucked up. So I am thrilled to say that the NSO9A has kept the aesthetic of the National Socialist Order because they invented it. These are the guys. The red and black and white motif with that almost unreadable fracture font, that German font,
Yeah.
where all the lowercase s's look like F's. So on the very front page, you're greeted with this National Socialist. Wait, hold on. National Socialist Order of Nine Angles. Accelerationism, National Socialism, and Satanism. Disclaimer. Nothing we say, post, or promote would be seen as a call to illegality.
Yeah, sure.
It's hilarious because that is actually like I hate reading that font. It's impossible.
Yes. Yes.
And the
I
website
had-
looks like it's like from 1998. Like
Oh, it's
looks like
awesome.
that-
Yeah, it's so,
like a
so
GeoCities
good.
fucking page. Like
It's
that.
so good. Yeah. And I read it all, by the way, absolutely sober. So I think I'm the true hero here.
Okay, so the anti-Satanists, like super promise their anti-Satanist faction, which is also now anti-James Mason faction, is called the National Socialist Revolutionary Front.
Yes.
And openly Satanist, I guess, pro-pedophile or...
And also the one that supposedly James went to. The rumor has it. This is where he went.
is the National Socialist Order of Nine Angles.
That's correct. So let's look at their heraldry, shall we? They have a snake eating its own tail, which is how I feel when we do episodes on these people. They have the obligatory swastika and an upside down Neptune's trident. It's upside down because that's where hell is. That's what it says. I mean, it says other stuff, but I just really don't care. So if you click on a button that says latest message, you immediately get hit with the latest message. Unreadably bad O9A shit about Weltanschauung and evil and whatnot. But it's mixed with just remarkably banal, like, American language. Like, okay, like phrases like, today's white man, and like building our brand and shit like that David Myatt would never say, you know? So you get this whole, like, we don't have members, but we totally do thing that Myatt does, but written very clearly from the keyboard of a dumb young Yank. So instead they don't have members, they have associates. So I'm going to give this now to Boris. Boris, you are going to play a guy called Director Wolf here. So what's the difference between having members and having associates?
The difference is this: autonomy. Our infernal mandate is to bring forth the truth, undiluted and with zero concern for what society or any so-called movements think or feel, and we are all about the devil's work. But what you decide to do with it or not is not the Trident's concern. That's why I'm the director of the Trident and not the leader of you. As said, I'm sorry.
That's great. Perfect voice.
As said, we have our stated goal and we have a sinister faith in which we sincerely believe. We're also nihil Nazis and ardent National Socialists, and we are expounding upon this as well. And all of this is to start the slow work of building not only our group, but an association of groups, where a community and culture for purposeful evil and violent actions can find validity and grow.
So I love this. I love this guy. David Myatt at this moment is doing all sorts of like unreadable literary gymnastics to prove that the Order of Nine Angles is not a Nazi group or a group or even really Satanist anymore. And then this kid comes along with James Mason in tow, apparently, and straight up calls themselves the NSO9A and says that they are Nazis and they are Satanists and they're doing the devil's work. Awesome. Yes.
And
thank you.
Building a community for violence.
And they're building a community of violence.
No, I love the just like super American language. You can never escape stuff like, like where a community and culture for purposeful evil and violent actions can find validity and grow.
Wait, there's more. There's more. Read this. Read this.
We have agency as Nazi Satanists to do the devil's work and promote the white race.
All right. No, read this though. This is a real one. Here.
To move this message, this movement, and our holy work forward, we don't need a member any more than anyone else that's getting down to their business needs members. That's why the term is business associate and not business member.
Oh, Jesus.
Mind blown. Myatt must be shitting himself with indignation. I mean, could this be more American? At least the Satanic Front is like completely self-aware of being American. They just dig in. They're like monster trucks and all this shit. America's awesome. These guys see themselves as internationalists. They see themselves as like having, completed the sevenfold path and all of this and the numinous blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, he probably has really he probably thinks he sounds like David Myatt. He probably has no fucking clue that Myatt is there like crying into his PG tips, like shaking his head. I mean,
what have I done? What have I done?
No. I think he's in for a shock though. I think when David breaks out the old ancient Greek dictionary and like cracks his knuckles and gets to work on this guy. Yeah. I can't fucking wait.
I'm sorry,
for that.
I didn't see any Greek.
Yes.
This.
Yes. Yes.
No untranslated Latin.
Yes. Okay. So let's just compare, shall we? Let's compare. So this is some current writings by Myatt. So this is Myatt, and then we'll go back to Director Wolf here. So here's Myatt talking recently about the O9A's relationship to National Socialism and Satanism. All right.
When I say that the National Socialist Germany aided in the sinister dialectic, it is misunderstood as me being a National Socialist or something of the kind. I am simply stating a fact of aeonics, as I do when I say the future state or empire, which is inspired by National Socialism, would also aid the achievement of satanic aims over centuries. It does, however, raise the interesting and important question of what the O9A means by Satanism. The O9A is not and was never a neo-Nazi occult movement or subculture. Neither was it and neither is it a satanic occult movement or subculture as the satanic and Satan are conventionally understood. Instead, the O9A is a means whereby the individual can move towards self-understanding and wisdom and thus find lapis philosophicus, and 2, where the means whereby the current aeon, distorted by the Magian, can be undermined and replaced by a new aeonic civilization with a new ethos and a new mythos which presents as the ethos. The new ethos is essentially pagan that evolved from Greco-Roman and Western notions of kalos kagathos, of to kalon, the beautiful, and to agathon, the honorable, manifest as these are in the O9A code of kindred honor, and in the balancing arenothilis of the masculus, and muliebro via the enantiodromia, that is the sevenfold way and presence as the balance, that is the grade rituals of the internal adept and the abyss.
Okay. There's Myatt.
We are also neo-Nazis and ardent National Socialists.
Wait.
And we're expounding upon this as well.
Don't read ahead. I got it all set up for you. Okay. So now you got Myatt. The question was, hey, David, are you guys Nazis and Satanists? That was his answer. Here is Director Wolf's answer to that same question.
Our association is open to all and true white men who are National Socialist Satanists and nihil Nazis worldwide. The entire world is suffering from the twisted machinations of the Jew and his disgusting and poisonous religions and left-wing mental brain rot. So as long as that is the case, the swastika and the trident should become a standing menace to all societies, all mud races, and all government powers until every square inch of the earth has been eradicated of the filth, or there is nothing left at all. Rahoa, the planet is ours.
Rahoa! That's his, yes, David Myatt is like, Satan is me, Nazi, me, the O9A. It's a labyrinthus mythologicus. And this guy's like, Rahoa! Rahoa, the devil!
Way it ends, if this is the way my race ends, then I'm going to be a nihil Nazi Satanist until the very end. We exterminate the mud races.
I love him. I'm in love. This is hilarious. So, oh my God, this is the funniest thing to happen to the O9A in a long time. Like, he's trying so hard to be like, the O9A is not Nazi or Satanist or a group. And this guy's like, we're a Nazi Satanist group. Like,
well, because, as we've said many times, David Myatt's not trying to spend his last years on Earth in prison.
Yeah, buddy.
Prescribed, as the British would say.
Because
there's a very good chance of that. That this 75-year-old man, they were to be made illegal in the UK, would live out his last days in the slammer,
which would be funny. So Director Wolf is not helping him out in that regard here.
No, he's not.
So they make fun of the American Futurist for getting in a huff about them, and remind Pete and Ryan there over at the American Futurist that we made Siege for them and the Futurist State editions 1, 2, and 3. So they say we are the guys that published what was your economic base. Director Wolf, ironically, openly promotes Tom Metzger's leaderless resistance, and despite being called Director Wolf, and even thinks of poor Race and Reason Metzger as a Drek. He thinks he's a Drek. Yes. If you've never heard it, listener, definitely check out our coverage of Metzger and his old public access show back in episode 92. And then imagine that this man is a secret follower of the Dreccian Way. The Dreccian Way being the most extreme and dark kind of street level thuggish O9A elements,
And not the German word for poo-poo.
Not the German for poo-poo. You don't mix them up. So I think this is
way.
The poo-poo way, as they call it. So a super brief mention for those new to the show: Tom Metzger was the leader of White Aryan Resistance, aka War, and tried to be the sort of respectable, free speech loving political face of the white nationalist in America. At some
other point, he was trying to look like a skinhead and kind of use that movement. So
man of
which
many
is probably
faces.
why they call him a Dreccian, because he had a skinhead image.
Well, how about this? To the National Socialist Order of Nine Angles, they say this. Oh, sorry, this is Director Wolf again, Boris, coming your way.
Oh, Director Wolf is ready. He was a man of destructive and satanic spirit, whether he knew it or not. A nihil Nazi, a werewolf, a Dreccian.
Tom Metzger was a werewolf, people. You heard it here first. Tom Metzger and Ryan Fleming.
Oh, man.
But he comes from a different beginning than a lot of us did.
Now, this really does get all... reach out to all of the hits of Arc 1 and 2.
3. Arc 1 and 3.
Or 1 and 3,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Arc 2 was about, regular Nazis. All right. So, Director Wolf also claims that the NSO9A is no place for, quote, a mud race, a Christian, Jew, Muslim, let's say gay people, not using that word, or child molester. So the NSO9A is no place for any of those things. Mud race, Christian, Jew, Muslim, F-word, or child molester. David Myatt, that is to say, Abdul Al-Qari, author of Girl Goddess, which is a book that appears for all the world to be about his sexual fantasies about little girls, might not make the cut in that case. But I suppose neither would Richard Molt, considering his monastic time. And to be honest, I don't see how James Mason makes this cut either, but I guess he gets the old siege pass along with his buddy Wulfric here. maybe that's Director Wolf, I don't know, who kept trying to get Texas Pete to watch kiddie porn or whatever happened there. High bar, though, for the NSO-9A. It's also like pretty close. It's almost exactly, by the way, what the National Socialist Revolutionary Front said, just in slightly different terms. What cracks me up, in fact, is how similar these two programs are. Like the NSO-9A's is like half as long, though, and way more fun to read. So despite what Pete and Ryan predict about the end of James Mason and the satanic presence in National Socialism, these guys are really coming out swinging. And I think it's just a magical time to be a Nazi in America, you know? You got such great options now. So we got to start tying this gaping brain wound off here, but we can't leave without talking about the NSO-9A's hagiography. Is it hagiography? Hagiography? However you want to say it. You know, I'm not a grammar Nazi. We established this. In their essay, quote, "Our only allies," by someone calling himself Sarkic, or maybe it's Sarkic, Sarkic, but there's no enclitic on the C. Just Sarkic, I guess. Sar immediately made me think of shit, the Hungarian word for shit. Also, Drek, you know, poop.
Yeah.
So I think it's very poop-oriented, I would say. So you get this amazing picture, like a picture, featuring the faces of Tom Metzger, William Luther Pierce, and fucking Ben Klassen side by side with the sigil of the O9A behind them. It's amazing. You heard already, probably, Boris, something went off in your brain when you kept hearing the word mud race, because I know you worked very closely on these idiots in the World Church of the Creator and the Church of the Creator, the creativity movement, as they call themselves, improperly. So no accident that term was used here. So just a quick word about this like glowing trinity of figures here. We already described Metzger a bit. For anyone who doesn't know out there, William Luther Pierce is the author of the Turner Diaries, founder of National Alliance, which was one of the most, probably the most successful American fascist movement in the post-war period, and the owner of Resistance Records, which we also did an episode about. Klassen founded the ever-hilarious garbage pile of nonsense that is the endlessly pathetic Church of the Creator. To get to the Church of the Creator, you've got to reach all the way down to the bottom of the barrel, but you got to brush aside the Dark Lords and the Satanic front, get them out of the barrel, and then scrape the muck that gets caught in the wood grain of that barrel, and then you'll find the creativity movement. Boris sacrificed his brain to cover these idiots in episode 91 and 93. You can find our episodes on Pierce from 73 to 76, and we also listened to the greatest hits of Resistance Records in episode 77, so have fun with that if you haven't already. But anyway, it turns out that Director Wolf himself was once a member of the World Church of the Creator.
Oh, so, you don't say.
How about that? You couldn't tell from his writing like style? Yes. So, basically, Sarkic, little...
Just call him Sarkic.
Sarkic here considers Metzger, Klassen, and Pierce to all be atheists, which... okay. You know, Klassen literally conceives of... Well, Klassen calls his movement the World Church of the Creator, but I don't think he ever acknowledged the existence of a creator, right?
No, it's not a super, like, theistic religion.
I think the white race is the creator. That's the
white race is God.
Yeah. Pierce tried to be an atheist with cosmotheism, which was stolen, if you recall, from an Israeli Jewish philosopher. Cosmodeism, but ends up with a sort of unnamed God anyway that plans everything. But whatever, they're definitely not Christian, which is, I think, the main point. I'm not going to go into great detail here. It's a lot of fawning praise over these men and a bit of biographical information. And it ends with Sarkic basically transposing what he sees as the commonalities of these guys over Niner kind of standard fare, though without invoking either David Myatt or his avatar Anton Long by name in this article. So this will be Sarkic. Well, since he's clearly got this like Slavic name here, Sarkic, I think Ray should take this one.
I don't know if that's very Slavic. I think you're Slavicizing it.
I am. I'm putting the itch on it, yeah. So this is going to be Sarkic on why these guys are secretly O9A Satanists.
A legacy follows these men, unlike most racialists. One of action, practical deeds, death, culling, cunning, insight/infiltration, loyalty, kindred honor, and a lot of laughs, which places them squarely in our hearts and memories.
Aw.
And they live as eternal proof the only allies to the Satanic are those of that same spirit, who destroy for destruction's sake, who kill and drive others to kill, who care for not one moral hang-up that holds us back, who are practical, and who are brave enough to become everything they once hated if there's a chance it will win the day. And we will laugh all the way to hell with our atheist brothers. After all, one of the wheels before our Lord Satan is to be without God. Hail Belial, hail Hitler.
You the devil. You the devil. You a Satanist, huh?
Yeah. Okay. So good. Thank you. A lot of laughs with those guys.
Yes.
You know? It's true though. We did laugh a lot about them and at them. But I want to point out that very last little bit. So he writes, hail.
You mean we were chuckling along?
We japery, a bunch of japery. When
Japery.
So there was hail Hail Belial, right? Belial, and then Heil Heil Hitler.
Yeah, it's
So-
Heil Hitler, yeah.
The reason why I think they both don't say Heil is because they don't say Belial, they say Belial. So they realized when they were typing it that it would be Heil Belial, which is awesome, which I love. It's really funny. Heil Belial. All right. I think that's their.
That's a wonderful official salute for the.
Yes, it
their
is.
group.
Yes. Heil Belial. Yeah.
Heil Belial.
All right. So despite Myatt not getting a spot on the Holy Trinity here, they do explicitly say that the sort of Orthodox Anton Long texts should be used to learn and teach from when you're talking about Satanism, avoiding even those issues of Fenrir that Sutter was part of. So in Sarkic's essay called "Why Satanism," they sort of address this. Also, they call Christian identity. I'm going to say they call it Jewish worship identity, though they chose another much less popular word for Jewish. Kanye would like it. So about Sutter, he writes this.
People who did not understand it got up in arms over the name itself, Satanism, and bullshit of it promoting homosexuality.
So that they don't say homosexuality, they say the F word for
okay. You okay? Yeah. Child rape and the other vague degeneracy. This came to a head with Joshua Caleb Sutter. Sutter started a group based on 09A teachings fused with other forms of Satanism, paganism, and just general nonsense, the Temple of Blood. Everything we are accused of, he actually did. He was a Fed, used aggressive and illegal tactics to get people into his brand of Satanism, and wrote 2 edgy novels filled with child and homosexual rape. This was all eventually revealed, which almost completely delegitimized Satanism in National Socialism.
Yes.
I mean, what a bunch of nonsense. This was all eventually revealed. I mean, he published the 2 novels and you promoted them.
On every platform you could find. Do you remember when Read Iron Gates was held as equal to Read Siege?
Yeah.
There are photos of you people with spray paint saying Iron Gates now everywhere.
Yeah.
I
also like how
Vinda Niktovich was fucking reading their texts.
Yes, exactly. Yes. He makes a big deal about how they don't like any gay stuff. Really, half of the rest of this is just a giant no homo rant. It's really, really important, much like the NSRF. I would like to quote here, though, a song by Dale Cultus, his hit jam, The Devil's Disciples. Boys, we got each other. No homo, just a bone bro, loving his strength. I think that's what this is about. So the NSO9A is also not a big fan of Odinists, saying all they're doing is wearing old garb and speaking spells in ancient languages they do not understand. I think that comes from Klassen, actually, that they like Nordic resistance, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. I got pretty bored. I feel like we get the picture. Unlike Satanic Front, I do get the impression that these guys are true believers. although the jury is still out on the front as well. They definitely write like they used to be creator guys. I mean, they spelled fused fussed here, but spell check. It exists. Very strong galoot vibes with these guys. But I guess in some, what happened?
I mean,
to
they
the
literally ended one of the things with Rahowa. So
yes, right.
I mean, it doesn't get more,
no
creativity movement than that.
No, this is the way the National Socialist Order ends. So what happened to the National Socialist Order, right? The nerds went one way to go and do Nazi fantasy baseball, and the remedial class kids went the other way to form a satanic garage band. But they both believe in exactly the same thing. They have exactly the same program.
Went the third way, yeah.
And Joshua Sutter went the third way, yes, which was to make some money. And they're both equally afraid of being called gay. And that's pretty much it. Like the National Socialist Revolutionary Front says no Satanists allowed. The NSO9A says no Christian identity guys allowed. But apart from that, pretty much equal.
Yeah. And what does the Satanist Front say? Who's not allowed?
Satanic Front doesn't like... well, they're open to all Satanists.
They don't like Myatt, I guess.
They don't like Myatt specifically. Yeah. So you got 3 options out there, people. You can choose your nerds over there at the American Futurist. You can choose your I don't know yet how to sum these guys up yet. The O9A remedial group here, the NSO9A.
Yeah.
And you can choose the most likely fed op one, the Satanic Front.
Yeah.
You got your options.
So what was the Atomwaffen is now at least 3 groups, 2 fronts and 1 order.
2 fronts in order, please.
2 of them are openly Satanists.
Yeah.
And one says that they're not. And they don't even have James Mason.
That's right. They lost their founder,
pretty pathetic.
who seems to have gone for the remedial class guys. So he went with the pedophiles, who say that they're not allowed. They both say pedophiles are not allowed, but they both seem pretty fine with like grooming, I guess. But whatever. They're Nazis. They're horrible. They're dumb. They'd be funny. They are funny, but they're also very dangerous. And that's what it is.
How long do you think we'll wait until the National Socialist Revolutionary Front find out that their leaders are secret Satanists?
Well, look, I mean, they went from breaking up with the NSO to breaking up with James Mason in the span of a month. So I'm going to guess, I'm just putting it out there, November 30th.
Okay.
That's my...
We'll check back in on them around then.
Yeah.
See.
What I'm more excited about is when is Myatt going to respond to the NSO9A? That's what I want to read. That's going to be gold.
Well, will he? That's the other question.
He can't not. They're blowing up his spot. They're like, no, we're Nazi terrorists. We explicitly read the writings of David Myatt. And, I mean... he's going to have to say something. He talked about we talked about Satanic Front, right? I mean, he says, fuck the Satanic Front, but that's because Satanic Front specifically said, fuck you to Myatt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he's going to respond to these guys being like, we're basically just David Myatt, Yeah.
Yeah.
Rahowa, hail Satan. For anybody who doesn't know, sorry, we didn't explain Rahowa. Rahowa is a racial holy war. Comes out of the creativity movement.
And then one of the most famous Nazi bands on Resistance Records.
Yeah, you definitely heard them in the cold open today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Because that was the way the sketch ended. Oh, I fucked it up. End on a low note. Alrighty, guys. This was a free episode. Can you believe it? This feels like a Patreon episode to me.
Well, it sure does. But this is the episode?
That's it.
Oh, but you were right.
Yeah, you said it was going to be super long. It's an hour and 17.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it's twice as long in written form as like other ones that I've done that have taken like an hour. So I figure that adds up to like...
So this will be an hour-long episode. Yeah. So
I don't know how this works.
Yeah. When you say it's very long, it's short. And
it's short. When I say it's very short, it's long. Okay. All right.
That's
doesn't
how
just go for the episodes, Ray. Wink, wink.
Opposite thing.
You know what I'm saying. All right. Let's get out of here, guys.
This was good. I like it. It was very concise. And
why, thank you.
Yeah.
This is also like it's in some ways like a palate cleanser for
This
for
was
this
a
art.
palate cleanser. This is your like
Well, okay.
white wine spritzer. Is these guys?
Yeah, well, okay, so, like there's a particular type of brain rot that we get from reading about like people like Father Kayevich and Kavaya to come and some of these other people.
And then
And then when we go
Kavayevich.
back to these these classics, like these absolute fucking morons.
You're right.
It's really like,
It is a bit refreshing, isn't it? Somehow.
yeah. If you do it too much, it drives you crazy.
Yeah. In moderation. In moderation,
Yeah.
all things.
Do they ever explain what nihil Nazis is?
Just nihilist. You know what you see? Actually,
I
there
mean,
is
I know,
an increased. Well, there's an increased. I would say it's maybe answered on the old American Futurist thing more than it is on the NSO9A thing. That is like they love Nechayev. It's one of their required readings, the Revolutionary Catechism. I think that's probably what they're looking at there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Good old fashioned nihilism.
Good old fashioned
Nihil Satanism.
nihil satano
Nazism.
Nazism.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
All right. Well, see you guys next week.
Yeah. And to all of our free listeners, I hate to push this, I hate
Stop
to like
pushing.
I hate to push this every time, but I got to say a lot of the references in this episode are on the Patreon. I'm sorry, it's just how it is, I mean,
Help us out.
or just help yourself out, Go go get
Treat
into
yourself.
this shit. Treat yourself. Yes. All the Satanic Front stuff. All of it. How are you going to live without that stuff? That's gold. It's pure gold. There's lightsabers in it. Get that shit. All right. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, Fritz here from The Empire Never Ended. This has been one of our weekly free episodes for free people. But for premium people, we also have weekly premium episodes, which you can get at patreon.com/tenepod, TENEPOD, and also follow our various social media things in the show description there. Like and subscribe them. Follow them. Like and follow and subscribe. Follow them. Do it.